I personally, this is my personal experience after 26 years of teaching this in the world, I think there's a lot of confusion about, what enlightenment actually is, what it means. And the waters are very muddied for me personally. So I try to teach in a way that is very clear and that is very coherent. And it's very important to me that my students, and the students, I mean even people that are just here, you're all my students for this retreat, that people learn how to make important distinctions about different levels of consciousness and different parts and dimensions of the self. You have to learn how to do that. Simply having spiritual experiences doesn't teach you how to make these distinctions. So this requires a lot of clarity and a lot of keen understanding. And it's important for me to help people to make distinctions between different states of consciousness and different parts of the self and actually know what they're talking about. There are a lot of spiritual teachers that are teaching this stuff that may have some higher development capacities, but they still, often they're actually not clear about many of these distinctions and muddy up the waters. So, but in order for me to help you to have this kind of clarity and make these distinctions, you have to do the work that I'm asking you to do. So you'll be able to really understand when I make these distinctions what I'm talking about, for not only just as some abstract intellectual idea, but you'll also know from your own experience exactly what I'm referring to. And the distinctions are very important. The distinctions are important because there are different parts of yourself, and then there's different parts of myself, and there's different parts of the self. And there are also different states of consciousness. And you have to know what you're talking about. Otherwise, you're just going to end up in a big muddy soup. You follow what I'm saying? And the whole realm of spirituality is the place where you're generally allowed to be very sloppy in your thinking, because it's spirituality. So, I feel it's very important to be very clear about these things. So what I'm saying is, you're not going to be able to follow me and stay with me and appreciate the distinctions I'm making unless you actually do the work I'm asking you to do. You follow? You won't know why I'm making the distinctions that I'm making and why I'm stressing their value or their importance. If you're only going to follow me as it's some kind of intellectual discourse. You follow? Because there are different parts of yourself, there are different states of consciousness, there's different parts of yourself, and you need to develop so much that you're actually able to be clearly aware of what part of the self you're coming from. You need to be able to know what part of the self you're coming from in every single moment. You have to be that aware, so you know exactly who you are and where you're coming from in every single moment. And you also have to be able to be perceptive enough, awake enough, and enlightened enough to have a pretty clear sense of where other people are coming from most of the time. Now, nobody can know all these things in every single moment, but we can get pretty good at it. You follow? But you have to do the work. If you don't do the work, it takes an incredible amount of discipline. And also, you have to be interested in these distinctions for yourself. You have to be really interested. If you're not, you won't do the work, and you'll think it doesn't really matter anyway, because it's all about peace and love, right? Well, a lot of people think that way. It doesn't really matter, because when it gets to spirituality, it's all about peace and love and compassion and being a kind person and being generous, that kind of thing. And I think it's about a lot more than that. It's about being loving. People say it's about being loving and about being kind. But even the definition of what being loving and kind is, the definition of being loving and kind changes according to the different parts of the self you're referring to and the different states of consciousness that you're accessing. Even the definition of what love and kindness is changes.